Greetings, Fright Nights! I'm Count Jackula.
And I'm the Horror Guru.
And we just saw Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, we did.
I really liked the movie.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
It was a really good movie. The things that we could talk about before we get to spoilers are, it's really obvious that the director of this movie loved the director's cut of Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm.
It's paced just like it.
Absolutely. Perfectly paced
Yeah.
out, I'd argue.
Yeah, it's nice and methodical. It has a lot of room to breathe.
Well, you can take in every single bit of the scenery, every single performance, every single, like, plot point perfectly. It doesn't feel like anything's rushed.
No, it doesn't.
In the slightest.
No.
It's like the polar opposite of something like Force Awakens, where everything just moves. This movie is just more like, no. Take a back seat and take in the movie.
Yeah, we're gonna chill
Yes.
and just let this fucking mystery unravel.
Absolutely. And it's a really good mystery.
It's a really good mystery,
on top of that.
yeah.
Like, it unfolds very well. It's got some nice twists and turns and surprises.
Yeah, quite a few. The main there are a lot of themes to this movie, as a Blade Runner movie should have.
Yes.
But I think chief among them is memories. Do memories make you who you are, and is love real?
Yeah. Those are central.
Yeah, those are the central
Super
questions.
central.
And also, like a really good Blade Runner movie, they don't give you an answer.
No. They leave it really open-ended, and I prefer
Oh,
in a
God,
satisfactory way.
Oh, yeah. You don't feel ripped off.
Like, you watching the movie can take in your own answer based on the things that happen, but like the movie itself does not take a firm stance one way or another.
Yeah, like movies like this, I like to say it doesn't solve the mystery. It introduces you to the mystery of life.
Well, I mean, it's a good example of it because thematically, the questions aren't necessarily answered, but the actual in-story questions are answered.
Yeah, the plot questions are answered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference between a lot of movies. A lot of movies try to leave the plot unanswered, but that's the story.
Yeah.
If you do that, then you leave the story unfinished.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie does it right. The plot is completely complete and contained, but the metaphysical questions that it brings up, those are left open.
Yeah, it's sort of like the whole bit at the end with why Roy Batty saves Deckard's life in the original is mysterious.
Yes.
It's completely fucking mysterious.
But the main plot between Roy Batty and Deckard is solved.
That's it's
finished.
very finished.
You know, this movie's very much like that.
Yeah. Roy Batty dies. Deckard escapes with Rachel, and so you know what? I'm just gonna say thumbs up because
if you're a Blade Runner fan, you will love this movie. Is all I'm gonna say because I love Blade Runner, and this movie nailed it.
It did. It really did. It was really good. You could tell it's and the best part is it's still its own movie.
It is. It has its own story, its own characters, even though other characters become important, but it has its own stuff going on.
Yeah. All right. And with that, spoilers. All right, so we got to spoilers pretty quick because the minute you start talking about this movie in any sort of detail, it's spoiler town left and right.
Yeah.
It's one of those. And wow.
So we follow a guy named Detective K.
Yeah, which is actually just part of his serial number.
Yeah, it's part of his serial number. He has no name because, as established almost immediately in the movie, he's a replicant.
Yeah, they established that the Blade Runner units are now pretty much manned by replicants.
Yeah, they're all replicants. Like, even when they go back to the precinct, they're immediately like debriefed and given all these questions to make sure that they're in their default factory setting and they haven't diverted off program, so to speak. We're introduced to him as he's trying to solve this case about this mysterious birth. Now, normally, hey, some criminal had a kid. Oh, why is that weird? Well, these criminals that had a kid were replicants.
Yeah.
So, A, replicants shouldn't be able to reproduce, so how did this happen?
Yeah.
B, if the replicant that was born via birth was revealed to the human populace, this might cause a panic because there's always a distinction between replicants and humans, and that distinction was birth and the soul.
Yeah.
Now, if the replicants can give birth like normal humans can, then that leaves the question of do they have a soul, which is the question of the first Blade Runner.
Yeah.
and
which for all of us who were there and witnessed this, it basically we came to the conclusion of good enough.
yes.
They have soul
Well,
enough.
the end of Blade Runner 1 basically leaves the question open of like, because there's a whole age-old question of was Deckard a replicant in the original Blade Runner? And the reason why that question's important is because the ultimate answer is it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's the point of Blade Runner 1. Do they have a soul? It doesn't matter. They're pretty much the same.
Yeah.
You know, human or replicant, what's the difference really? You
Yeah.
know? And this movie takes that even further because what's the difference? Well, now there's a possibility they might be able to give birth. So the difference is even smaller. Because they can now be birthed and live and die.
Yeah.
They can have wants, they can have needs, they can fall in love, which is a huge central plot in this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it is. And the other thing that's really important that they go into is the implanted memory prototype, which is Rachel from the first movie.
Yes.
They have continued that. So replicants have memories that are designed.
Yeah, absolutely. And that becomes a pivotal plot point. You're basically
Yeah,
following...
it's a major plot.
You're following Kay as he's been ordered to find the birth replicant and retire the birth replicant, which basically means kill. And while this is all going on, he's also exploring his own implanted memories and finding out that they might not be implanted.
Yeah. Like his memories are, some of his memories are real memories.
But then there's a second question of they're real memories, but were they still implanted?
But are they his?
You know?
It's like
So-
there's somebody's memories.
There are all these like layers going on here. So you have these two concurrent plot threads and mysteries going on that eventually kind of become one.
They finally cross.
You know, they cross paths and they become one. And while that's all going on, you also have a subplot of Kay, who basically has fallen in love with his holographic love unit.
Yeah, his holographic wife.
Yeah, he has
basically
a holographic wife that he bought and paid for, who he actually falls in love with and actually starts helping him when he's like doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And there's this huge question of like, well, she was technically programmed to fall in love with you, so is the love real?
Yeah.
And that's like running throughout the whole movie alongside all this other stuff.
Yeah, that's a big question. And much like in Blade Runner,
Yeah.
do replicants have a soul? Doesn't matter, good enough. You know?
And on top of this, you have the shady corporation that basically owns everything, who's...
the Wallace Corporation?
Yes,
Yeah.
who is represented by two characters. One, a replicant named Love, who seems to be an all-purpose secretary.
Yeah.
Replicant who also doubles as a field agent, as we find out as the movie goes on. And is the favorite replicant of the owner of the Wallace Corporation, Wallace, played by Jared Leto, who throughout the entire movie basically represents God or the devil, depending upon what the scene is.
Yeah. And the reason he has access to all the technology is because the Wallace Corporation, turns out, is built on the old Tyrell Corporation.
Yes, absolutely.
They had acquired it in a gigantic megacorporate merger.
And part of the reason why all the old replicants are still being hunted and killed is because all the old replicants, all the old Tyrone models need to be disposed of.
Yeah. It's basically, it's like, so rather than doing it because it's, they're just not allowed on planet Earth. Now they're allowed on planet Earth. However, the old models have to be retired because of planned obsolescence.
Yes. And on top of that, the old models all have this malfunction of having wants and needs and desires.
Yeah.
But
as the recent, but the new type of replicant specifically obeys.
Yes.
Including the main character.
But as we learn, that's not entirely the case.
It is not entirely the case. But that's why these replicants are allowed to be part of quote-unquote society.
Oh God, it's so good. Like, everything about this comes together so goddamn well, and it's shot beautifully, and not just in like, oh, like everything's beautiful. Like, everything within the frame holds a specific importance.
Every frame was a painting.
Yes. Like even scenes where you're seeing like background like ads that are holographic coming off of the screen and like dancing or whatever. The movie eventually makes that a plot point because oh shit, that was an ad for the holographic wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was an ad for the holographic wife, and oh shit, this is actually important to the plot point because it's central to the question of whether or not the wife actually loved him or was programmed to.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, it's like there's so many like great little things. Like there's a whole conversation at the beginning between Kay and Love where Kay mentions that intimate questions about one's personal life are usually a sign that someone wants to get close to you. And then immediately follows that up with an intimate question for him, indicating that she's attracted to him. And then as the movie goes on, that through line is accurate. It's accurate because Kay gets asked intimate questions by his superior officer, who is clearly attracted to him. Kay later on meets a character that he really wants to get close to and starts asking him personal questions. Which I suppose we're in the spoiler section. We could just talk about that.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, the mother of this birthed replicant is Rachel.
Yep.
From the first movie.
Guess who the father is? Harrison Ford, Deckard from the first movie, is the father of the mysterious born replicant. And because Kay starts realizing that his memories are aligning with his search... Yeah. He's starting to realize, oh shit, these might not be implanted memories. They might be real, and they might be the memories of whoever this kid is. But wait, if they're the memories of this kid, was I born?
Yeah.
Am I Deckard's son?
Yeah. He starts to seriously question this. This is what kind of drives him forward.
And this happens pretty early on in the movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, we're like in like the first like 40 minutes, and we've already come to this possible conclusion.
Yeah, and God, that movie is like almost 3 hours.
Well, I don't know how long it was, but it didn't feel too long.
No, it didn't.
Like, it felt like it, even though it's really slow paced, I felt like the movie went by real fast.
Yeah, like, but before I knew it, we were at the climax. I was like, oh shit. But all this shit has happened. Anyway, so, yeah, it turns out, so you have this birthed replicant that he's got to find.
And dispose of, but it might be him.
Yeah. So he's not sure what to do.
So the quest kind of becomes like, oh shit, what do I do? Do I dispose of myself? Do I turn myself in? Oh shit, but I also kind of want to meet my parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wait, one of them's dead, but maybe I can meet my dad. Like, it's just like...
Yeah. And the Wallace Corporation really wants to find this thing because the CEO wants the replicants to be able to create themselves so that he can basically expand the corporation intergalactically.
Yeah. He wants to take over the stars, but he cannot build enough replicants in time to do that before he passes on anyway. Yeah. But if the replicants can reproduce like humans can, then they might
be able to do that.
They might be able to create a whole bunch of them. And he wants to be God. He wants to rule the universe.
He wants them as slaves. It's very obvious.
You know, so he wants that. And there's this great scene at the beginning introducing him where he's examining his new model of the replicant, which is supposed to be able to reproduce, but it can't. So he kills it. And it's this great menacing scene. And Jared Leto knocks it out of the park in that moment. Scene.
Yeah, and I love the line that kind of explains how all this happened. Well, he's talking about when they had acquired, the reason he had acquired the Tyrell Corporation in the first place was because he had heard, he wanted the replicant technology, and he discovered that Tyrell had one last trick up his sleeve. Yeah. And that trick was a replicant that could reproduce.
Who turns out to be Rachel, as we find out.
Yep. That being something that no one had ever told
So you have the police department, which wants it disposed of because it might form a public risk. It might lead to a war between replicants and humans. You have the corporation, which wants the replicant because it wants to be able to reproduce replicants biologically.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you have Kay, who wants to find the replicant so he can figure out if he's the replicant or if he's got parents.
Yes.
Which, if he has parents, he has a soul. Like, it's like...
Yeah.
And then here's the great thing about almost all of this. With the exception of that soul question, all those other questions, all those internal battles going on within the protagonist, they're not expressed out loud.
No, because he's like Deckard in the first movie, where he's kind of closed-lipped.
They're all examined through watching him react to certain things visually. And that's just a good example of how well-made this movie is. Like, this character barely speaks, but he speaks volumes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. The
Ryan Gosling.
yeah. No,
I love that guy. That guy he continues to be
fucking
amazing.
all the scenes with him and the holographic wife are great.
Those are so great because she just keeps talking. She's a mile a minute and he's
Yeah.
just quiet, but like you know exactly where he sits on everything and all his reactions. And oh man, this movie got me to almost cry over a fucking holographic wife.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's this really cool scene. There's this really cool scene where he's wandering around the city and a couple of prostitutes like check him out and proposition him.
Yeah.
This becomes a plot point because, for one, the holographic wife hires the prostitute to come to the house.
This is one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Oh, it's so good. Come to the house so that her husband has someone he can actually have sex with.
Yeah.
And she tries to sync up with her.
Yeah, and it's not quite 1-to-1, but like...
Yeah, but it's close enough.
So it's like he's sleeping with her, and oh my god, that scene was weird. It was fucked up. It was romantic as all shit.
Yeah.
And you just like, oh man, it's that moment where I realized I was completely invested in both him and his wife. And, and then later when she's like, take me with you, but delete my mainframe, which meant that if like the little thing that he carries around that she projects from, if that dies, she dies.
Yeah, she's gone.
Like the moment we get to that point, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. You know it's coming.
No,
you know
don't
it's
do
coming.
it, movie. Don't do it.
Yeah, and the reason she has to be erased is if the cops come in and find her, they're just gonna know everything.
Yeah.
You know.
Because they could just hack her and take all the information from her. Because she's been with him the whole time. At the beginning of the movie, he buys this extension that he can carry around, which once synced up with her means that she can project anywhere he is.
Yeah.
You know, so she can go with him throughout this entire journey. So she's technically with him throughout 90% of the movie.
Yep.
And watching and paying attention, and every time he's like down, it's just like, you're special.
Yeah.
You're special. I know he's going to be special. You need a better name than Kay. You should be Joe. You're a Joe. Which, at the moment, feels really fucking great, and he starts calling himself Joe, but then later, when he's questioning whether anything is real, whether his memories are real, whether anything is actually happening, he sees an ad for the very same holographic wife he has. And you find out that they call everyone Joe.
Yeah. Every man is Joe.
And there's like this great like moment where he's staring at it and it's looking at her, it's looking at him, and just like, you're a good Joe. And then like you see on the ad, it says everything you want to see,
everything you want to hear.
And so it's that question of like, was any of it real? And you're just like,
yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
My heart is breaking.
Yeah. Oh man, so fucking good.
This is a 10 out of 10. I have no complaint from this movie whatsoever.
No, none whatsoever.
And if there is something wrong with the movie, I didn't notice it, so I don't give a shit.
I love... This is a great example of a movie that doesn't say things. Oh, no. And it makes it work.
It
and
shows.
That works. Holy fuck.
This is all show, not tell. You know, like the few times where it tells are mainly like Jared Leto's like maniacal maniacal speeches, but like those feel like the kind of speeches evil villain who thinks he's God would have.
Yeah, he would just say that.
You know, like he has this whole speech like talking with Deckard, because Deckard shows up if you've seen the trailer, where he's talking with Deckard about whether or not his love with Rachel was actually real or whether or not it was a programmed love.
Yeah, whether Tyrell had actually arranged it.
Yeah, arranged the whole thing. Which is a
very good question.
You know, and this is all juxtaposed with the main character questioning his love with the holographic wife.
The Joy unit.
Yeah. And like, oh man.
Yeah.
I do love that scene where him and the wife are like looking over all the records, and it's just like, it's interesting how you replicants are all composed of 4 numbers and I'm composed of 2.
Oh God. Yeah. She's like, you're composed of 4 things, you know, ATGC. 4. I have 2 1s and 0s.
Yeah. I forget what he says. It's like,
it was like, you may have only half the number, but they're twice as elegant.
Yes. It's just like, I was so invested in that relationship.
I know. So cool. And then fucking my favorite unspoken answer in the movie is at the very end when everything goes down. I don't want to spoil the last twist.
Yeah, the last twist I'm leaving
The last twist I don't want to spoil for you guys.
It's too good.
But there's a moment where Deckard looks at K/Joe and goes, "What am I to you?" And he doesn't answer, but you know it.
Yeah.
But you know the answer.
There's a lot of great moments like that.
Oh, it's so cool.
And it's a nice follow-up to that old thing about, like, sometimes the thing you can do for the person you love is be a stranger.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, goddamn,
Yeah.
I know how this is going to go down now. And I'm sad.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
Yeah. And then, oh, dude, at the very end when the music comes back.
Oh, God, the original score.
Oh, yeah, the original, like, you know, Tears in the Rain music happens.
Oh, fuck. And it's in the snow this time.
It's in the snow.
It's in the
this time
snow.
it's
It's now more solid.
Oh, my God. The fucking snow imagery. I couldn't believe that the snow imagery was significant.
Oh, it was super significant.
Yo, it fucking tied into the very last shot of the movie where you're like, oh my God, you were pissing it in you were putting it in my face the whole time.
It was such a great twist.
It was
so well done.
It was so good.
Fuck, God.
No, this is...
And there's shit tons of little Easter eggs for fans of the original Blade Runner.
Oh, God,
but without, like, it's not doing the kind of wink-wink thing that, like, a lot of movies do, like Force Awakens did, where it's just like, hey, look, it's Harrison Ford. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
It's not doing that as much, but they are there. And I
Yeah.
appreciated it because, like, that's okay for Star Wars, but Blade Runner's a little more mature. So I'm
Yeah,
glad...
it's got to be a little cooler about it, you know? Like, I mean, there's the big Atari sign, which I was like, okay, all right.
This is also one of the rare movies where all the product placement works because it's all done for, like, giant ads that are supposed to be projected off the screen.
Yeah,
so, like, the Sony ads make sense.
Well, yeah, like giant mega corporate advertising.
The only one that I questioned was the Sony jukebox. That one was like...
Yeah, that was like, really?
No.
Really?
No.
The Sony jukebox with
I'm
the
not
hologram
buying
on
it.
it? Yeah.
Not buying it.
That was a little weird. That one was a little weird, but whatever. It was no Converse shoes and iRobot.
Oh, no, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
It at least still fit within the universe, but it's just like, that one's pushing it.
Yeah. Oh, fucking God. Yeah, but that's like a very, very, very small complaint. And otherwise, in a perfect
barely
movie.
a blip on the fucking radar.
Yeah.
This
You
movie's
only know. I
beautiful.
think you have to be guys like us to even notice that.
Yeah.
You know, not like, hi, I'm Will Smith, buy Converse, and I'm going to chase
an
this
iRobot.
robot. That is such a sour note in that movie. Like,
It's not a bad movie.
It's not a bad movie, but that happens and you're like, it's like a fucking 5-minute fart just sitting there.
If someone just, like, cut to this point of the review and didn't catch what we're talking about iRobot, they'd be like, oh, I guess they didn't like Blade Runner.
No, loved Blade Runner 2049.
Though I do think that since we're now talking about iRobot, it might be time to close this out.
All right. I've seen movies you people wouldn't believe. I saw The Phantom Menace
Yeah.
drop bombs on itself. I've seen Kingdoms of Crystal Skulls shatter upon the Ten-Hauser Gate.
Yeah.
All these moments of terrible follow-up movies will be lost in time. But I do not think the Blade Runner 2049 will. I think this one's going to live on.
This is a good sequel. This is a very good sequel. It's one of those rare things where I'm like, this sequel stands right next to that original one, and the original's a classic. That's really good. If 40 years later you can make a sequel that stands right next to it.
Yeah. All right. And with that, hey, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and follow us on Twitch. There'll be a link in the description below. And we stream every Thursday at 6 and every Sunday at 9, and do occasional streams throughout the week. And until then, Fright Nights and Monster Girls, I'm Road Pal Count Jackula. See ya.